Hello everyone, welcome. This afternoon we're having a conversation with a leader you want to look out for. Why? Because first of all, I'm a resident of Dagoretti North and I'm very interested in the political spaces in this side.
Yep.
And I just got wind that one of my very good friends will be gunning and running up for MP aspirant, that's Member of Parliament for Dagoretti North, speaking to none other than Elijah Oenga. I'm told the tagline on the ground is Dago, Tuko works. So look out for that as well. So Eli, surely from farming into siasa, what's happening? I mean, youth on the table, this is your time. The question is why now?
In fact, Laban, good question. And I like to say the youth of this country, the youths of Africa need to rise up, because the conversation we hear more and more about Africa is one of we are a rising continent, we are a rising people. But when you see who's guiding that conversation, our faces rarely appear. Where are our young women? Where are our young men? And I'm not talking about the selfish politicians who pick up, run with the conversation to selfish ends. I'm talking about people who can push an agenda that brings all of us to the table to move this nation forward.
Great.
Yeah.
Shortly we'll be talking about your manifesto.
Yeah.
But I want to really just tell us a bit about yourself. Of course, we've traveled the world. I mean, you're widely schooled in the UK as well, coming back home. There's a conversation about, a bit about farming. What are your other passions? And, tell us more about yourself.
Elijah is very interesting. I wear many caps, but I'll start in the beginning. Growing up in Molo Academy, Class 6, I was given the privilege of being a student president. And even in my university, I was given a privilege of being the student president. So you can see leadership is a conversation I carry across all the facets of society. So currently, I'm involved in farming, agribusiness, because remember, the core of this nation is in agriculture. All right? I'm also involved in the education spaces. I publish a magazine called Education Network. And I also am involved with special needs kids. While back in the UK, I did volunteer to work with special needs kids. So that's a space I occupy, and boldly so. I'm also engaged in training. I work with young people across the country to train them to sharpen each other, to polish each other, so that, we can talk about economic empowerment and getting skills that they require for life.
And you're afraid that now if you spread your tentacles into politics, you're going to lose out on these great initiatives that you've done over time?
I think many of us try to avoid politics, but politics beckons. It comes to our doors. If you are not engaged in political conversations, it will engage itself on your behalf. Therefore, I'm using my gunning for this seat to even call more people, young girls, young women, young boys and young men, and even the older generation. Can we all have a genuine conversation? Do we have a value system as a country? Do we have an economic blueprint? Do we have an agribusiness blueprint? So I would like to welcome more people to the conversation, not less. And I think a lot of Kenyans prefer to be at the periphery. They see themselves as mere voters. But this nation needs more and more of us on the table so that we can chart a path forward with all of us on board.
Great. And Ellie, maybe a good time now to, present your manifesto to the Kenyans and, of course, the residents of Dagoretti North. Question is, number one, just give us, helicopter perspective on what exactly is your agenda for the people of Dagoretti North, and then we're going to go bit by bit into it. All
right. As a legislature, your main role is to create laws in Parliament. But luckily for us in Kenya, we also have a role where we work very closely with the constituents. So I will first talk about what I would like to do with my constituents before I pull the narrative further to national representation and the issues that are close to my heart. So when I look at Dagoretti North, and I've lived here for over 9 years now, there are issues around education, bursary and scholarships. So that is a major issue. Dagoretti North, half of it is affluent, half of it is mostly a slum where people really live hand to mouth. So you can see how issues around education and empowering schools and ICT hubs in schools and libraries, and then having a robust and dynamic, bursary, that is distributed in a fair, just, and equitable manner. I will also like to extend the bursary and have a scholarship fund, and I will work with the existing local partners and international partners to come up with a very robust scholarship fund where young men and women from impoverished sides of Dagoretti North don't have a limit. I want them to dream and dream big and, be able to pursue their dreams to its ultimate conclusion. Look at things like health. Again, COVID has hit very hard, and you can imagine how the slum areas have been hit again. So we would like to equip the existing medical facilities, but also work with the NHIF where the very marginalized, like people living with HIV and AIDS, single mothers, and people who are really not able to afford NHIF payments. As a member of parliament, I would like to extend the safety net to bring in special needs kids, and pay for them the NHIF and work it in a way that it reaches those who need it most. Look at issues of infrastructure and waste management. That is a headache, but also an opportunity. If you look at waste management, we could turn trash into dollars by recycling it. So I have met a number of youth groups on the ground who are already doing a good work. So for me as an MP will be to empower and expand the scale. We also want to talk economic empowerment. Dago, Tuko works is my main slogan. And I would like that anyone who has a skill or who would like to acquire a skill gets that opportunity to do so. A skill in fashion, in woodwork. In fact, all the things on this set are from Dago Tuko works. These tables are young men. These seats are young men of Dagoretti. I'm already working with a number of initiatives, women who do beadwork. I have young men who do woodwork. We are going to do leatherwork. So I would like for anyone who has a skill that he would like to employ that skill gets an opportunity to do so.
Great. And that Dago Tuko works, .co.ke, that's a site you need to reach out for. Ask your leader the questions you'd like to actually have him know on the ground, especially if you're a resident like me. Please engage with Elijah and Ellie, of course, as is known on the ground. If you'd rank them, what for you would be top 3? On your manifesto, if you look at it and say, you know what, Laban, in my first 100 days in office, this is what I'm going to go for as my number 1, 2, 3.
The bigger issue we face as a nation right now is unemployment. In fact, we seem to produce graduates who end up being unemployed at a faster scale than we're producing tea and coffee anymore. So I think our number 1 product right now as a country, unfortunately, is unemployed graduates. And even young men and women who did not make it to uni, who end up on the streets. So there is an issue of drugs and alcohol. There is an issue of crime in Dagoretti North. And this is because we have an influx of young men and women who have nothing to do. So early morning, they wake up, no ambition, no hope, hopeless, no dream. So as a member of parliament, my first 100 days, I would like to group them into calibers. There are those who are good in IT and can be trained in, IT skills. There are those who are good with their hands, making beautiful tables like this. And then my work as an MP is to access to market, all right? So I'll have a team that works with all these different empowerment groups. I have a group of widows, who have nothing really to look forward to during the day. So I would like to have a cluster of different demographics and work with them in a way that we dignify them, help them to have a skill, help that skill to put food on the table. So I have an agenda, I have a robust, and go to my website. I'll be sharing a lot of these things, a clear plan on how we will be rolling out this program.
So, Ellie, when you go to the ground, you will be there quite lately. I think every time I call and say, Tuko kwa ground. What are people saying? What are people asking you to do to help them, help them achieve?
Laban, if I have to be honest, there's a big issue on the ground, and people are hungry. Okay, so every time they see a politician, they first see you as food. You know, before you can engage them in anything, they want to know what are they going to eat. And I'm working very hard to help change the narrative from handouts to a narrative of let's have a conversation. How do I help you move from where you currently are to a position where you are a dignified Kenyan earning a honest living? And that's the conversation. It's not the easy route. The easy route will be to come with pomp, color, and all, you know, manner of euphoria. But I've chosen the harder, narrow route, where I'm having conversation, genuine conversations with our people. How are you here? How can I help you? How do we move forward together? How do you help yourself? What skill will work for you? So currently we are running an ICT training program, 30 young people every 2 weeks. And this will continue post-election. And then, you know, they learn cutting-edge modern skills where they can employ themselves. So we are talking self-employment, we are talking vocational skills, we are talking dignity, dignifying people who are currently hopeless into having a dream also, to start thinking, you know what, I can do this. And so I'm half a leader, half a motivator, half, you know, a counselor, because some points you get, and, you know, they're genuine, very raw issues. So you have to end up being a counselor. And I think the experience I have, having worked with young people for a very long time, is coming in very handy to help me maneuver these very murky waters.
Great.
Yeah.
And I mean, to be honest, wish you nothing but the very best. And personally, I think at this point in time, we really, I think as a patriotic Kenyan, by the way,
Yeah.
it's at this point in time that we're really in need of leaders such as yourselves to just come in and just be solution providers to the perennial problems that have just been existing and bedeviling our society, you know, to date. And personally, of course, right now at this point in time is as you go along as well, what are some of your challenges? What are some of the issues that you actually see as aspirants? You know, perhaps you want the institutions of government to actually know about, or, you know, other people to be aware of.
I think information is power, and when there is lack of information, a society is in darkness. So I think government and all other agencies, let us invest time, more than money, time with our people. You know, you go somewhere and they feel very disconnected to the systems and structures that exist. We really need a way to plug in our people. And I think the best way to do that is utilizing our schools and having civic empowerment programs where our people are educated on the Uwezo Fund, on the women funds that exist, on how to apply for scholarships, on how to apply for jobs. You know, some people have given up. They cannot even apply for jobs because they think these jobs exist for certain people. So I go to the ground and there is utter and sheer hopelessness.
You know, as a business journalist, I'm quite passionate about, you know, matters to do with, you know, the economy and where really we're advancing, because normally as the political narrative goes on, we always forget about, you know, empowering our people economically. So, Eli, I wanted to delve deeper into this and really just take us through step by step into your plan under your economic pillar.
I think, Laban, that's a very, very critical pillar in my manifesto. Economic empowerment. It's a big word. And without modalities and structure to follow that word, it's an empty word. But it's also a heavy word if you find ways to, you know, dissect economic empowerment. So for Dagoretti North, having worked, I shop in Dagoretti North, I eat from Dagoretti North, the market I go is Kawangware market, my, you know, my furniture I buy from Dagoretti North. So it's an area I really fully understand. So I would like to dissect economic empowerment in the following ways. Number one, look at arts, crafts, and culture and package it in a commercial way. So have young people make unique items for sale locally and internationally. Look at the fashion industry. You look amazing. Look at
Thank
me.
you. Yeah,
you know,
locally produced as well.
this
Yeah.
And when you go to Nigeria, when you go to Ghana, people are proudly wearing African. So that's why the tailors in Nigeria are doing very well. We have millionaire tailors in Nigeria. But because we rarely promote African in Kenya, so I would like in Dagoretti North to work with women to really adorn us so fashion. I'm going to package it in a very commercial sense. You know, I'm looking at ICT skills. That is another key component in my economic empowerment model. You know, getting young people to understand captioning, transcribing, coding, programming, and then look at also social media. You know, get young people to do photography skills, videography skills, and empower them in a way that they can even get to Wezo funds to then buy the equipment they need to grow themselves. Look at women and value addition, you know, packaging of things like honey, peanut butter, chili sauce, and this can be done very well with women groups. So look at also beadwork and things like leatherwork. So again, that is a major component in my economic empowerment model. I would also like to look at sports as an economic empowerment tool. Dagoretti North has not a single stadium, and I'll be working with the leaders that exist, the president and the NMS, to identify an area we could build a stadium, because you realize sports is an income earner, and we need to find a way for the talented young people in Dagoretti North to showcase their skill and grow it and nurture it to a level that it can feed them.
You know why that's so critical is because most people look at sports particularly more of a recreational, just purely as recreational, and not really as an opportunity to actually, you know, benefit themselves economically.
Look at Julius Yego, just from YouTube,
Yeah.
within a very short time, you know, without the facilities, without nothing, and he became a world champion. The way out for Kenya, the way out for this country, is investing money in skills, sports, arts, culture, and theater. You know, I have nothing against university degrees, lawyers. I have nothing against doctors. I have nothing against economists and news anchors and everybody else. But that can only carry a very small segment of society.
Yeah.
The bulk of our people need to be addressed through sports, music, art, and skills. You know, welding, but at a very high level scale. Photography, but at a very high level scale. Videography, but at a very high level scale. Woodwork, but polished things you can even import. That is where I hope the next government, which I'll be supporting, you know, and I'm happy the leader keeps saying the final and third is economic empowerment, liberation. So I am speaking a language my party leader speaks. And for those of you who know, I would like to vie under the ODM ticket. And I'm happy that the party leader has been insisting the third and final liberation is on economic empowerment. And I would like to help him push that agenda in Dagoretti North and even through Parliament.
Great.
Yeah.
Let's delve a bit deeper on that, because you just mentioned it quickly. Just speak about the ethos. Your party leader was very well received on the ground as well. This ticket was the previous MP again, sorry, current sitting MP, came in on an ODM ticket as well. If you would just speak briefly onto it.
Yeah, if you look at most political parties in Kenya, they are briefcase parties, they come and go. But if you look at ODM, it's a party that has withstood the test of time, you know, being in opposition for a very long time. But what I admire most about the party is the ethos, the constitution, the things they stand for, you know, inclusivity, you know, bringing in the special needs and differently able people to the table, bringing in different tribes to the table to discuss. You know, they stand for devolution. In fact, I would like to say the party leader is the father of devolution. He used to speak about Majimbo when everyone used to assume he meant secession, but he actually meant Majimbo as devolution. And you can see it's the single most important agenda we currently have in Kenya. A success story in Kenya has been devolution. I think we need to remind people that the father of devolution was one Raila Amolo Odinga. And now he is again the one bringing the economic empowerment agenda. And hopefully this time he will be doing it as a president. And me as an MP from the ODM seat, I would like to make sure that that agenda receives full support from across the divide.
Yeah.
So I'll become a champion, not for Raila only, but for the people, because an economic empowerment agenda is an agenda that addresses key demographics that have been sidelined, forgotten, and have been hopeless for a very, very long time.
Great. As we get to the tail end of this, what is your ask, first of all, to the critical parties that play into the electoral system? You know, you talk about, for instance, the IEBC, you talk about the police, you talking about the populace, and even just a commitment to peace, as you conclude.
As we conclude, I would like to face Kenyans and address them. The most important person in the political process is you, the Kenyan, the voter. But for a very long time, we have negated the power that we have in our hands. And we have relegated that power, delegated that power to politicians. And you can see that is why many of us sitting in our homes are very disappointed with the current political scenario, because it seems to work for the benefit of the few who sit in parliament. Maybe it's time to love ourselves a little bit more and move closer to the political discussions. Come closer. Those of you who want to vie, rise up. Young girls, wherever you are, I would like to encourage you. Rise up from Lokichogyo to Lodwar to Kilifi. Rise up. Your country needs you. You know, I'm reminded of John F. Kennedy saying, don't ask what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country. This is the time. You know, I would like to hear more voices coming to the discussion and pushing this conversation forward. IEBC, could you please kindly, you know, make it a just, fair, and educational process. I would like to speak to the security operators. Kindly make this a peaceful process. We are one people. Elections come and go, but we as Kenyans, Laban, we must remain to love each other. We must remain to be one people. So thank you for, you know, that question.
Anytime.
Yep.
And all the best, Ellie. Nothing but the very best. This is the point where we need such great leaders like yourselves to really go out there and make a difference. Dago Tuko works. Dago
Tuko works. Thank you, Laban. Such a, you know, an inspiring interview. And to all of you listening to us, thank you very much. We hopefully meet kwa ground. Tukutane kwa ground. Dago Tuko works.